Hello Tuesday. 4-day week. Okay, so everyone's probably wondering why in the world we're doing a study guide today. We're not. So I got a Zoom meeting today, tomorrow, Thursday and Friday for any student that is remote and or absent on today, which is Tuesday. So that way they can have all the information that they missed. Because this week we are introducing you guys basically to the last graded assessment or assignment, whatever you want to end up calling it, for the semester. So we'll introduce it to you guys today. We'll walk through kind of the parameters. We'll get you started on it. Any questions that anybody might have for it, we can answer. Honestly, this is probably not going to take you the entire 4 days of this week to get this thing done. I would suspect that if you're really into it, it probably will end up taking about maybe 2 days at the most. I'm talking about, by the way, if I haven't said anything, is a auto purchase lab, if you will. Most people are not educated in the terms of making such a large purchase, and it is a large purchase. I mean, in most circumstances, a car or a truck is going to be the second largest thing you ever purchase in life. Okay, the first being a house. So that's kind of the idea, on average. And vehicles nowadays are kind of getting obnoxious in regards to how much they cost. It is not uncommon to get a pickup truck that's $70, $80, $90, $100,000. Most of your newer vehicles, $30,000 or $40,000. So it's a large chunk of change. We want to make sure that you guys are well educated, knowing what to expect going into an auto purchase sale. It's not just the price of the vehicle. There are other additional things that you are not only going to want to research and know about ahead of time, but also know kind of price-wise what you're looking at. All right. So the lab is going to be basically a pretty involved process of digging up and researching stuff. Thankfully, I've done a lot of back-end work on your behalf. And when you go into Google Classroom under the final project assignment, not only does it have the forms that need to be completed by you about the vehicle you're going to purchase, but it also basically contains links to every website that you are going to be able to utilize to find the information that I'm going to ask you to dig up. So there's going to be very minimal amount of searching on your end, okay? And we'll dig into some more of those details later on. But before we start, I want to kind of address something that frustrates me personally. And it's not to do with students or anything. It's just grading is one of those things as a teacher I take very seriously, and I take a lot of thought and time to go into how to evaluate students, specifically how well they are learning in my classes. So it's not some type of arbitrary thing that I go through the motion on. There's a lot of processing on my end of, okay, if a student does X and Y, they should get this. If they do X, Y, and Z, they should do this. And again, grades are ways of communicating from me to you in regards to how well I think you are doing in your learning in this class. This obviously requires you to do your bargain. You know, there's a part of my stuff that I need to do that's part of my bargain in this relationship, okay? Now, as I was putting in grades yesterday, because May 27th was the last day to turn in any type of later missing assignments, I was putting in a lot of stuff from a lot of students, and I noticed some inconsistencies with how Skyward scored stuff, or at least how it thought it should give letter grades out. Okay, I'm not going to get too in the weeds on this thing, but I just want to let you know that the grade that's in the grade book right now, letter grade wise, is most likely not going to end up being the letter grade that you will be receiving on your report card. Okay, and here's why. Skyward is set up and it's designed to look at the entire semester's grades. And there's a lot in this class that we've done this semester. A lot of labs, a lot of study guides, a lot of 4 days, just a lot of stuff that we've done since January. For me, as a teacher, I look at all of those different things as very important pieces to the puzzle for your learning. And I believe that something that you did in January is just as important as something that you did in April. Skyward doesn't think that. Skyward says, hey, Johnny hasn't done a single thing this entire semester, but now all of a sudden Johnny has turned in 3 things in the last 2 days. By the way, I'm not specifically talking about any particular student. I'm just showing this trend is consistent with a lot of stuff. Okay, so Johnny didn't turn anything in. All of a sudden he turns in 3 things at the end of the semester because of the May 27th cutoff, because they're scrambling to get up from a 0% to passing. I get it. Unfortunately, what Skyward does is it looks at the stuff that was turned in the soonest. So if there was a due date on May 27th and they turned it in on May 27th, it has a higher influence on the final grade than something that you turned in January. What I'm trying to get at is basically a student that hasn't done anything all semester, turned in stuff right at the end, is getting a much higher grade than a student who has been somewhat consistent turning things in all semester, but then may have missed the last assignment to turn in. Case in point, there was a few examples where, again, student hasn't turned in anything through the whole semester, turned in stuff like basically on last week Thursday, ended up getting a C. And then I had another student who, again, has been consistently turning in things, not everything, but at least here and there more consistently. They're getting a D. Okay. Now, as a teacher, I look at that and I go, wait a second. I think it's unfair or a miscommunication that this student is getting a D even though they've done more work, right? They've maybe turned in 10 labs, and the other student's only turning in 2 labs, and they're getting a higher grade, okay? And I think everyone would agree with me that the person who turned in 10 labs probably deserves a higher grade than the person who only turned in 2 labs. So now what I have to do is I have to go back in and manually look at every student's grade and make some adjustments to better reflect what I, as a teacher, think the student deserves based off of the amount of work that they actually did over the whole semester. Okay? So what I'm telling you right now is if you go into Skyward today and you look, you'll say, oh, wow, I have X grade. That's great. That's probably going to change. I'm going to take the 3rd quarter grade and your 4th quarter grade, and I'm basically going to average those together. And that's what's going to end up being your final overall semester score. Okay? That's typically what has happened in the past, but for whatever reason, Skyward's got this, it's called trending or trend grading. It doesn't work for this class. Okay? So, for instance, if you received an F in 3rd quarter and you received a C in 4th quarter, you should probably expect a D, right? That's just kind of how things average out. If you receive an A for 3rd quarter, you receive a B plus for 4th quarter, right? That's probably going to average out and get somewhere A minus B plus. Somewhere in that range. I can't tell you specifics because I'm going off of numbers, not the letters. And the numbers have specific ranges that our school district has approved for letter grades. So all of this is me saying that A, by next week, grades will be finalized, okay? Because we have this thing that we're doing this week that'll be turned in Friday. I will grade it this weekend, okay? So if you are right on the cutting edge of like a C minus or a D plus, this particular assignment is going to definitely help influence you to get up to that C minus. Again, that was just an example, right? Same idea for C plus B minus or B plus A minus, whatever it may end up being. So we're going to want to make sure that you guys are hitting this pretty good. It's not hard. It's one of those things that we're going to wrap up the school year with. And again, just to give you another example of the frustration on my end, I've had students that haven't done a darn thing. They turned in one thing the whole semester, and the entire, up until Thursday, or up until yesterday when I was putting grades in, they were getting like 0%. They were failing the class. They turned in one thing, now they're getting a D-. Again, it's not my goal to fail a student, but it's my goal to communicate to students that the amount of work that you have done is not adequate for passing because you have not learned enough to be able to move or get the passing score. So just because you're getting a D right now doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pass the class. It's kind of harsh to say, but I don't want emails next week. This is your explanation now to give you that heads up. All right. Is there any questions specifically on that? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, again, my goal is to make sure that it is fair as possible to communicate the grades. So the student who's been more consistent gets the better grade than the person that just does something right at the end just because. Okay, let's move on. Hopefully much more happy topics. All right, if you guys wander over to Google Classroom and you get into classwork, there is a topic called Final Project. And under that final project is an assignment that basically says, what does it say? Final project. I would sing the final countdown, but I don't want to get copyright strike because I want all that YouTube money. That's a joke, by the way. No, it says, okay, under final project says automotive purchase project. If you click on that, you are going to see a bajillion and a half different links to various websites. All the way, I believe, at the bottom is going to end up being a Google slide that says auto purchase dash, and then it'll have your name on it. Okay. The auto purchase dash your name Google slide presentation, you open it up. You do not need to make a copy of it, but you'll open it up and you are going to see essentially a 2-page worksheet that you are going to go through and complete for this assignment. Okay, so that's the only really thing that you have to fill out. The second thing that you have to do for this assignment is obviously find a vehicle to purchase, but then you're going to want to end up saving that information or printing off, quote unquote, the website where you have found that information and then upload that PDF to this assignment. So when I go in to open this when it's due, I'm grading it, I'm going to look for this worksheet that you see on the screen, and I'm going to look for a PDF of the website of where you found that vehicle. Okay, and I'll explain why I'm having you guys turn in a PDF of the website and how to do that, so it's not super complicated. It's not technical. It's crazy simple. Okay, let me go through this worksheet real quick, and then we'll kind of backtrack, and then we'll start working on the first page today. So first off, when you get into this presentation, obviously it's pretty small to view things. So if you come over to the magnifying glass and you click on this, you can go and zoom in. All right, I just obviously, whoops, whoa, I'm zooming in way too far. You can zoom out so that way, really? There we go. You can zoom out so it's comfortable to read on your screen. All right, I'm gonna hold up a second. Whoa. Can I delete this? There we go. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this while I'm standing up over on the side, so it's hard for me to see the screen. Okay, cool. All right, let me go all the way back up here. Like our study guides, if you come in and you double click on any blank area, a text box is going to kind of pop up here, and you will be able to type in that text box. So again, if I wanted to put my name in here, I could go and double click on it and I can type my name. Okay. My name has a lot of numbers in it apparently. But for the sake being, I'm just going to delete that. Double click on the date. etc. Enter the date, so on and so forth. Okay, pretty straightforward from our study guides. Directions, it says we're going to identify a used vehicle that you would be interested in potentially purchasing. Can you borrow one of those?
Yeah.
I got my blue nozzle one in the tool crib.
All right.
All right, so essentially what you're going to be doing is going out and saying, hey, I'm going to buy a car. What cars would I be interested in purchasing? Kind of thing. I'll tell you right off the bat, your budget is going to be $10,000, which is going to end up being a pretty decent budget for a pretty decent used vehicle. There is no doubt in my mind that you can find a very well-running vehicle for under $10,000. Okay. By the way, you have to find a vehicle that's under $10,000, and it has to be within a 75-mile radius. So you can't be like, oh, hey, I found this really great car, but it's in Arizona. Sorry, that is out of range. Okay, we want something that is kind of practical that you would find around this area. And by the way, 75-mile radius is huge. There is a lot of places that are selling cars. Next thing that I'm probably going to disappoint you on. There are specific websites that you will be able to use to search. They're all listed up at the top here. So Car Gurus, Cars, TrueCar, Carvana, CarSoup, Cars Direct, Edmunds, Autotrader.com. You cannot use Craigslist, eBay Motors, Facebook Marketplace, any auction website, so on and so forth. You can only use these. What's that? AutoTempest is basically a Google. It searches these particular websites. So yes, you can use AutoTempest. You just got to make sure that when you go in to look at AutoTempest, that when you click on a vehicle that you like, that it's coming from one of these, which most of those are going to be. But I know AutoTempest also uses like Bring a Trailer, eBay Motors, Craigslist, and those are off limits. Okay. The main reason why is because there's a lot of people out there selling a lot of garbage, and they're selling stuff that really isn't necessarily priced what you would find. Okay. Hey, I want to find $1,000 two-door coupe, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission. Awesome. Congratulations. You go out there, you actually find those vehicles. They're not running. You can't be like, hey, I'm going to buy a vehicle that doesn't run and then buy the purchases with the leftover money. This assignment does not allow that to happen. Okay, so no project cars. This is a car that you can go in, purchase, drive away, and utilize immediately. Okay. Did I answer your question, John?
I was going to ask if I could buy a body for $300 and swap it.
Nope. This is a fully functioning vehicle. Yeah. Again, we're trying to have some fun with this, but the reason why we're having you do that instead of going out and buying a project car, quote unquote, is because I want you to, the idea is to go through other things that you need to worry about other than just the purchase price. All right, so in this case, let's kind of walk you through real quick what purchasing a vehicle actually looks like, or at least searching for one. So I'm going to come in here again. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what I want. Okay, let's try this. So one of the websites we can go to is cars.com. Whoops. Again, I'm trying to type on my. It has to have 4 wheels. That is not a motorcycle. No ATVs. It has to be a actual vehicle. Nope. Nope. Yeah, hey, you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about cars. Just have 4 wheels. Anyways, so in this case, go to cars.com. This is an example. You can go to other websites. AutoTempest, again, is probably a great resource if you're going to try to search multiple websites at the same time. But if you're just going to go through and hit up one or two of these, that's fine. But go to cars.com. We're going to come down here. We're going to type in used cars. We're going to do all makes and models. Okay. Our limit is $10,000, and our mile range is 75 miles from 54935. which is Fond du Lac. So I hit search. Okay, so it's going to search the inventory using those parameters. But then I can also come in here and refine this even more. So again, if I'm looking for a specific make of a vehicle, let's say I'm looking for only Dodges. Cool. There's no limitations on what kind of make or model or what type of vehicle it is, as long as it has 4 wheels. I don't really care about the model. My maximum price is $10,000. The mileage, you know, you can have a variety of things. I'm just going to say 200,000 or less, and I'll show you why in a little bit. I can have, you know, body style. I could say, you know what, I really want a hatchback. Okay, cool. You know, the cylinders I want. I only got 4 cylinders as an option. Transmission, I want an automatic. Okay, so that gives me down, or narrows down to basically 1 Dodge vehicle. Okay, so here's a 2009 Dodge Caliber SXT, $5,956. It's a fair price according to Cars.com. And you know what? You're gonna say, oh yeah, I love this car. This is all what my entire dreams are for having a vehicle. Again, we're gonna have fun with this. Whatever. I click on it, and here's the thing that you guys need to understand. Because we're searching vehicles, inventory is going to be moving all the time. So you might find this vehicle today, and all of a sudden you come back tomorrow, it's no longer on the website, which means if you didn't save it, you can't use it for the assignment. So as soon as you find a vehicle you like, immediately save the website. So how you do that is very simple. Okay, I believe this is the same on Chromebooks, but you just hit Control P. Yes, Control P is the shortcut to print. We're not printing this though, okay? Up here where it says destination, it might give you a printer. Like it might say this is the 1194 printer in my room, okay? We're not printing this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna change the destination to save to PDF. All right, and now all of a sudden I basically have a PDF version of the website with all the information that I can get from the website. I can then hit save, and then I'll end up saving it to my hard drive on my computer. And if I really, really want to, I could I could throw that up into Google Drive immediately. So that way, if my Chromebook dies, or I have to turn in my Chromebook, it'll be in Google Drive, which I can access anywhere. Okay, so let's just say for this example, we're using this Dodge Caliber 2009 for about $6,000. Awesome. So what I'll end up doing is going back into here and then typing in all this information: year, make, model, price, the VIN, mileage, color. Here we have a bunch of stuff that are check marked. Okay, I did this first hour, so let me kind of just zoom in a little bit closer here. So it'll say drive system, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. You're going to just have one of these green check marks remain. So if it's a front wheel drive car, I can come here, click and drag, highlight those green check marks that I don't want, and I can delete them. Now magically, front wheel drive is the only one check marked. If I had a front wheel drive vehicle, you do the same thing, but you would just remain the check mark in the box. That is obviously what you want, okay? So that's how you would end up doing those check marks. But again, you come in here, type in all the information on the blanks, you just double click, fill it out. For features and options, you just double click on this. And when you go to features and options, okay, let's see here, I'll scroll down, see more details, all features. Holy cow, there's a lot of features. All right, you can copy. And here's what I don't want you to do. Okay, if you come in here and paste, oh, of course it's going to be like that. All right, Control V. Okay, I'm going to get this. That's a no-no. See how it covers up like a billion things here?
Yeah,
it doesn't really look great. That's a no-no, okay? If you need to, you can come in here. You don't have to put all the features and options, because guess what? Most of these features and options are going to be on most vehicles, right? Oh, passenger airbag. Yeah, they have to by law. So it's not really something special. So fill it out. Use commas if you need to. It does not need to be bullet pointed. It does not need to be a list. if you run out of room, delete what doesn't fit inside this box, and then put in this thing called etc dot, etc. All right. I don't need every feature that is listed. Typically speaking, what happens is the dealership is like, oh, we've got a 2009 Dodge Caliber. They go to the manufacturer's website, they go to Dodge, and they go, oh, what's all the features on this thing? Copy and paste it onto their website. There it is. They don't go through and do like a check mark. Oh yeah, it does have power windows. They just type in the VIN probably, and then it just pops up with everything. Like rear bench seat. Whoa, there's a feature. Like, why is that even listed? Oh, a rear spoiler. Oh man, now you can go like,
Extra horsepower.
yeah, 20 more miles an hour. It requires subscription for what? Netflix?
I think it's Spotify.
Yeah, probably. Okay, once you have the vehicle information saved on a PDF and filled out on this worksheet, you are then going to proceed to go to Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds, the NADA guides, and you are going to find the actual quote unquote retail value of that particular vehicle. Because again, we're doing research. If you were honestly going to go out and buy this vehicle and they said, hey, $6,000, how do you know you're getting a good deal? How do you know it should be $6,000? Right? You can go to Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds, and the NADA guides. You punch in the year, make, model of the vehicle. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions like what kind of trim options and features, what color is the car? Yes, that does matter. Okay, and it's going to ask you what condition the vehicle is in. Okay, most people are like, oh, I'm gonna put it as good. Most cars are not considered good or great. They're fair. Okay, so we're just going to select fair as the condition of the vehicle because we can't actually physically inspect it. We're just going off of the pictures. So we're going to use fair. Once you go through that process of answering those questions, Kelley Blue Book is going to throw up a number. For Kelley Blue Book, you're looking for the private party value. In Edmunds, we're looking for the average private party value. And in NADA guides, we're looking for the average retail. Okay, those three numbers should hopefully be roughly around the same price point, which in all honesty is probably going to be slightly less than the listed price because the dealership probably still needs to make their money. Okay. Now, if the dealership has it $10,000 over what Kelley Blue Book has it listed for, you probably don't want to end up chipping over that extra amount of money. You'd probably go to the dealership and say, hey, I'm interested in this vehicle. I noticed you have this price. I've done some research. I think it's worth this. Can we come to an agreement and you can negotiate that? All right. But again, because the internet exists and most dealerships are intelligent, they know what the value is supposed to be. They know their customers are going to be able to search for that value. They're probably going to competitively price it. So then that way their business doesn't go to a different dealership. It's just kind of one of those things in life nowadays. Okay, after you get the 3 fair market values, we'll go to identifying the number of technical service bulletins, also known as TSBs, and recalls. You go to automd.com, year, make, and model, or you punch in the VIN, I think, and what'll happen is it'll tell you how many TSBs are for that particular model car and how many recalls have been in, okay? And again, what a TSB is the manufacturer might have found an issue after production on a part. They might send out a technical service bulletin saying, hey, this part might fail, or this is how you fix that kind of thing. Recall is bring it into the dealership, they'll repair it for you for free. So it's not a bad idea to find out, hey, this vehicle that I'm looking at, the Dodge Caliber, has 1,000 TSBs. Holy cow. Okay, in comparison to the same type of car or a different kind of car, same price point might only have 3. That might tell you kind of the reliability you could potentially have in the car. Okay, it's not the only thing, but it's a good thing to look up. Then we got the IIHS ratings, which is the safety ratings. So again, you would go to iihs.org/ratings, punch in the year, make, and model of the car, and then on the website there, they actually go through and show you videos of that car being actually crash tested, along with their rating systems on these various different crash tests. I'll tell you right now, If you have an older vehicle, like a 1998, whatever, not every single one of these was tested back in 1998. Okay. They might only have a couple of these. So only keep the check marks in the areas that they actually have scores for. If there's like, let's say roof strength and it doesn't show that particular test, just keep NA check marked and everything else blank. But it's a good idea to go in and check the safety ratings of that vehicle because again, you're going to be driving it. If you get in an accident, you should know how it performs. So then that way you can have some modest expectations of your ability to walk away from a significant crash. And you might want to look at purchasing a vehicle that has those features. Yeah. All right, we're not going to get into too much of this today, but basically after you're purchasing your vehicle, you have to go in. We're going to show you guys how to fill out or at least calculate the title, registration, license, all that sort of fun stuff. On the Google Classroom assignment page is an MV1 form that I pulled right off of the DMV. If you were to go to the DMV for real life and register your car, you'd have to fill out that form. I just kind of pulled out the section that I thought was important for what we wanted to do with it, but it's basically the same information. And again, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about what all this is and how much money it is and calculate all that stuff out. We're also I'm gonna have you guys calculate the potential monthly payment if you were to get a loan for the amount of money that you were going to spend. And there's a website that kind of gives you just a very generic concept of what you could potentially expect for a no cash down, fair credit, 36-month, 5.9% interest loan. Okay. We're also going to talk about why, if it's possible to not get a loan, would be even better. And also, we're going to talk about why it is always, always, always a bad idea to lease a car. Don't ever lease a car. Ever. Ever. I'm talking like there's no condition that you should ever lease a car. You should just purchase a car. No, don't lease a car. Okay, if you're rich and you're going to purchase a car, you're technically not the one purchasing it. You'd probably purchase it through an LLC that you own. Then the LLC owns it. You just use it. That way, if you get in a car accident, they sue the LLC instead of you. That way you don't lose money. But that's usually, that's wealth management. That's not this class. We're not going to tell you about all the fun stuff there. All right, identify the average insurance rates for the vehicle that you are going to be buying. Again, we go to insure.com, we punch in the make, model, and year. It'll give you kind of the average price of what you would pay for insurance for that car. Type that in. Again, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Then here's the fun part. We're also going to have you guys kind of figure out the cost to operate the vehicle that you purchased. So let's say we got that 2009 Dodge Caliber. I'm going to have you figure out how much gas you're going to use, and then obviously multiply that by the price of gas. That's going to be a cost. You're going to have to figure out the cost for oil and a filter, engine air filter, headlight bulb replacement, and a car wash. If your car that you have selected has more than 200,000 miles, in addition to those other operational costs, you also have to figure in the cost for a serpentine belt, tensioner, and idler pulleys for the vehicle. If it's less than 200,000, you don't have to have that as a cost for the operation. Okay, and that's just simply me saying, hey, if you have a vehicle over 200,000 miles, you probably can expect more wear and tear on the vehicle, which means a higher cost of operating it. You do not include labor fees because you're the one fixing it because you took this class. You like that? All right, eventually what's going to end up happening is there is 4 sections in here that are going to have red numbers. Okay, so if I double click on this real quick and I type in some numbers, right, you'll see how those are red. What you're going to do is go through and you are going to add up all the numbers that are in red, which is the price of the car, your fees, registration, and license, okay, which is right here, your insurance cost, and the operational cost. Those 4 things added together get put right here. It cannot exceed $10,000.
So the total?
The total of all four of those things cannot exceed $10,000. If it exceeds $10,000 by $1, the assignment is not completed. Okay.
So if you find like a really nice car that's like at least 9,990, you can't do it.
Nope, because the registration fee, insurance, and the operational costs will put you over 10,000.
I'm guessing I have something to 5,000 then.
Well, what you might have to try to figure out in the back of your head is maybe figure out, give yourself a budget for insurance, operational costs, and what you would probably expect for taxes, license, and registration. Okay. So give yourself a budget for that and then take away. I would probably presume that if you found a vehicle for about $7,000 or less, you would probably be able to make that $10,000 limitation. Okay. But you're right. If you find a vehicle that you love and it's like $9,100, probably going to put you over the cap. Because I'll guarantee the insurance cost on that is going to be, that alone by itself will put you over the limit. Okay. So anyways, that's this assignment. Again, we'll cover a little bit more in-depth details on this back page or the second page tomorrow. I'm trying to think of anything. Okay, so if you complete everything that I just talked about satisfactorily, under $10,000, meeting all the criteria, and you've included the PDF of the car off the website, that's a 3. Okay, pretty straightforward. If you're obviously missing some information or you don't complete it or it exceeds certain limits, that's where a 1 or a 2 can come into play for this assignment. If you want to get a 4, you got to do this twice on 2 different vehicles. The nice thing is this shouldn't take that much long, right? You should be able to do that by Friday. Okay. So what I'll end up doing is, I think that's roughly about everything I wanted to talk about today. I will leave everyone here for the rest of the hour. So we got a good 20 more minutes. You can start digging in and doing some research, figure out what car. I would 100% figure out what car you're going to do before starting to fill this out. Because I've already had students their first hour. Oh, I really like this car. They start typing in the information, and then they realize that the vehicle is like 90 miles away instead of 75. Whoop, they got to go back and find a different car. Okay. So use the searches. Make sure that you are meeting the limitations in your search. So then that way, when you guys are actually going to look out, you know that you're not going to find a car that's like 76 miles away. That's $10,001, right? Okie dokie. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can email me or give you a private comment in Google Classroom, or if you're in person, just talk to me in class. I'm going to mute myself. If anybody have questions, you can obviously holler at me. I got my speakers on. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow.